They have a moment where they kiss and like she pulls away and like turns away and he's like in the background like, oh, this is good. This is so hard. This is so much harder than usual. And then he's like on his knees and he's like, strange things can happen in the woods. Like
5, 6, 7, 8.
There's no business like show business.
Mamma mia, here I go again. My
Of the music
Of opening numbers, I'm a sucker for, well, one, I'm a sucker for Stephen Sondheim.
Obviously.
Two, I'm a sucker for an opening number that just gives you every single character and their wants.
Yeah, I know. Well, whenever I was taking notes for this, I was like, oh no. I really have to pause for this one because there is not a single number that's extraneous. Every single number advances the plot or the character development. And I was like, this is how it's done.
This is how it's done. There were songs cut. There were plot points cut, and we'll talk about them. This movie goes so fast.
Oh,
also.
my God.
It clips along.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Welcome back to the podcast.
Woo!
Welcome back to 5, 6, 7, 8, a movie musical podcast where we review and recap movie musicals. We are your chaotic co-hosts. I'm Anna.
I'm Grace, and welcome to season 5.
Season 5! Oh, and we are kicking things off with the 2014 Into the Woods. This movie is 11 years old.
That's an attack, first of all.
Judged in jail, I feel personally. That's my very first note.
Yeah.
11 years old. Okay.
God.
Jump scare of James Corden as the narrator.
Oh my God. So we just diving straight in?
Again. Unless there's anything you wanted to talk about.
No, let's go.
A lot happens.
So much happens.
We have a lot to talk about.
That is so true. There's a lot of plot.
There's a lot of plot because there's a lot of characters.
Yes.
This is an ensemble movie musical.
100%.
It's an ensemble musicale. It is an ensemble movie musicale.
Yes.
And as I was saying in the beginning, as I was saying before, we love an opening number that introduces us to our ensemble of characters and gives us like their wants right out of the gate.
I love that
Stephen Sondheim knows what he's doing.
Yeah, crazy. I love that the I Want song is literally like I wish. Like everyone is like, let me super clear about what I am after, and that might change as my character progresses, but right now, when you meet me, this is what my aim is. And I'm just like, chef's kiss. Love it.
So let's go through all of our characters.
Yes.
We start with Anna Kendrick as Cinderella.
Yes.
Y'all know the story.
Yes.
We meet Jack of Jack and the Beanstalk.
Mm-hmm.
Emily Blunt and James Corden are the baker and the baker's wife.
Yep.
We get Christine Baranski.
Hell yeah. We also get
National treasure, Christine
National
Baranski,
treasure.
as the evil stepmother.
Yes.
As the evil stepmother, we meet Cinderella's two stepsisters as well.
Yes, and then in addition, we also get our Little Red Riding Hood, who is looking for food for her grandmother, but also herself. We jump around a lot in this opening number. It's hard to like.
Yeah.
I feel like we should choose one character and like go through the opening song for each character.
Wait, let's do that.
'Cause
Let's do that.
Rather, like the movie, it makes it easy, obviously, with visuals because they can jump back and forth between characters. But like, so much happens within this 14-minute opening number that it's.
Is it really 14
minutes.
Holy shit!
That it's easier to like choose a character. This is what happens to their bit in the song. So. I think we should start
That's a fantastic suggestion.
I think we should start with Cinderella. We'll just go down the line.
Yeah.
So we meet Cinderella. Like we said, Queen Christine Baranski is her evil stepmother, and she's two stepsisters. She wants to go to the King's Festival that's happening, which is going to be like 3 days of this magical ball, and the king is looking for, or the prince is looking for a bride, and her stepmother is like incredibly cruel, throws some lentils in the air to, it's like, you have to clean them up or you can't go. So she
which I think is from one of the original fairytales.
Yes.
Yeah, the lentils return.
Lentils! And she and a bunch of birds come and help like pick up all of the lentils.
I'm sorry, I want you to imagine being just like a villager in their town, hearing like a song lilting on the air,
Yeah.
looking up and seeing a flock of birds descend
That's
down a
what
chimney.
happens to Jack's mother, right? Like, she hears the sound and looks very
Yes.
confused.
Jack's mother, there's a couple moments where I'm like, oh, we know we're in a musical.
Yes.
When the other one's in agony, but like that's a moment where I was just like, imagine being an
Just
NPC
imagine.
in this universe. So Cinderella asks the birds to help
Yes.
her pick up the lentils in addition to helping her with her chores. She speaks to birds. It's never really addressed.
Though people do ask about it. They're like, you speak to birds? And she just moves on.
Yeah, Little Red's later.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah.
And then
She's successful.
Yeah.
She's then called upstairs to help her sisters dress for the ball.
Mhm.
She gets slapped by one of them for pulling the hair too tight.
Yes. And they are heading off to the festival. She asks to go with them and they say, dress like that? Absolutely not. And she's like, well, this is not the only day of the festival. And they said, we'll see. And then they drive off, at which point she watches them driving away and is like, I know, I'll go and ask my mother's tree in the woods. So her mother, who had passed a while ago, was buried in the woods. And so she goes off into the
Under
woods
a willow tree
to find the willow tree.
She's like, I'm gonna ask mother for help. And I'm like, ma'am, you had a magic tree this
this
whole
whole time? Crazy.
This whole time!
All right, so that's Cinderella, and that is her arc in this thing. So she wants to go to the festival, and she's going into the wood to find her mother's tree.
And then let's do Jack. We
Yes.
meet Jack of Jack and the Beanstalk.
Mhm.
He lives with his mother. They're quite impoverished, and they have a dairy cow named Milky White that is Jack's best friend.
Best friend.
But Jack's mother says, look, this cow hasn't produced a drop of milk in 3 weeks.
Yes.
We have to take her to market. Like, we have to sell her. We're starving.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, no, he's my best friend. And Jack's mother's like, it's a girl.
One of
You
my
have to take her.
favorite Sondheim lyrics is from this little opening.
Is it Withers?
Yeah.
Is it the
Well,
Withers
the Withers
bit?
with her with
Yeah.
her, and I'm just like, God
Well,
damn
the
it!
Withers with her with her. I literally wrote Sondheim. You are so
You're-
good.
And I think a couple
so-
other people agree.
Yeah, just a few. So Jack's narrative ends. One, we get a little bit of foreshadowing of him with his slingshot in this scene, which I had never clocked before, where he like knocks a jug off of a door. His mother sends him to market, and he has to go to the next town over because everyone in their town knows that the cow is dry as a bone.
Yes.
So Jack's arc in this song ends with Jack heading into the woods to go to the next town.
Yes, and the cow's name is
Next,
Milky White.
we meet.
Which I think you might have already said, but
Next, we kind of meet
Red.
Little Red Riding Hood and
Yeah, I think
the
we should
baker
start
and
with
baker's wife
Red
at the same
because the
time.
baker's wife is like
Yeah.
a bigger story. So with
Yeah,
Red,
no, I agree, but we meet them at the same time.
yes, but with Red, we meet Little Red Riding Hood. She has this fantastic bright blood red cape, and she's in the baker's store and asking
A bakery?
the bakery, and she's asking for bread and cookies and other baked goods to take to her grandmother who's sick in the woods.
Her grandmother lives in the woods.
Yes.
Her grandmother's not just running rogue through the woods. Her grandmother lives
Galloping
in,
in the woods.
a house converted from an old oak tree.
Yes.
Somewhere deep in the woods.
Gorgeous. And she is asking for all of this food, but she's also eating a bunch of food at the same time. And the baker's wife is like, just thinks she's a dear and a darling. And it's just like, oh my God, of course, like, we'll definitely help. And the baker is just like, she's a thief.
Yeah, are you going to pay for any of the food that you're actively stealing in front of my eyes?
Yeah, and his wife is like, no, it'll be fine. And he's not
Do you
having
need a
it.
basket?
Yeah. But
No.
so she skips off. She has her food. And so she skips off into the woods to get to her grandmother's house.
There's also a little bit of interesting foreshadowing there in that scene. And we will establish in the coming scene with the baker and... Actually, no, we establish it right out of the gate when we first meet them.
Yeah.
They want a child.
Yes.
Like I want a child, but there's I don't know, I'm coming at this from a more critical, analytical lens. And the juxtaposition between the baker and the baker's wife of how they actually interact with children.
Yes.
Like she's so endearing to them and he's just like has less patience than she does. It's going to be interesting when it comes up later when there is a child.
Yeah. And how he behaves.
And how he behaves around the child.
Yeah.
Just interesting. So in the baker and the baker's wife narrative in this song, we establish right out of the gate they want a child. They send Little Red on her way. And Red's arc ends with her skipping into the woods.
Yeah, it's like a quick little opening.
Yeah. Now, the baker and the baker's wife in this song are like packing up the bakery for the day. There's a knock at the door. The wife calls out like, we've sold our last loaf of bread. Yeah. And the baker goes to the window and goes, oh, it's the witch from next door. Then the door blows off its hinges, and in a swirl of light and dust motes appears the witch from next door, played by the witch of Into the Woods, played by Miss Meryl Streep.
My God. Her nails need their own Oscar category. She is delightfully decrepit in a really fun,
she's looking rough,
delicious way.
They've really aged her, and her body posture is really hunched, and her hair is all snaggly and stuff. But she immediately comes in hot.
Oh yeah, she's like, I need something.
They're like, what do you want?
Yes.
And she's like, it's not about what I want, it's what you want. Yes. The TLDR is she reveals to them that many, many years ago, she placed a curse on this house and on this family, the baker's family, because it was his father's house, so that it would always be a barren house. Like, no children would ever be born of this house, because his father stole from her.
Yes, specifically stole some magic beans, which cursed her.
He didn't just steal it. He stole like a bunch of stuff out of her garden because his then pregnant wife was like really craving the greens. Yeah. Greens, nothing but greens. Yes. But she specifically curses him because he stole some magic beans from over the as he was climbing back over the wall. And the beans were cursed by the witch's mother and cursed her with the curse of ugliness.
Generational trauma.
So the witch is like, look, you want a child? We have a short window of time to get this curse reversed. Yes. In 3 days, the blue moon will appear. It appears every 100 years. And if you get me these 4 things that I need, I can undo this curse for you. And that will also undo the curse on her.
Yes. Not only that, she also reveals that the baker's father had a child first before him, who was a daughter, and a part of her, I guess, curse or like, revenge against them was that she would take their firstborn. And
it's not the firstborn, because the baker is the firstborn. He's already born when they come to the house.
What?
He's just young.
Oh, okay.
He's just young, and his mom was pregnant.
I didn't know that they said that at all, but maybe I missed it.
They do, because I think it is, because then how would he have been born if the...
I don't know exactly what the timeline is, but essentially he has a sister he didn't know about.
And also, after what you just said happened, the witch also takes the baby girl.
Yes.
The father abandons the family?
Yes, leaves the family, and eventually the mother dies. Woof.
Anyway, we get our call to action, which is bring me these 4 things.
Which is the cow is white as milk, cape as red as blood, hair as yellow as corn, and slipper as pure as gold.
I was trying to write these down as I was watching it, and I wrote like, slipper as pure as blood, hair as yellow as blood.
You're just like the baker.
Getting them wrong.
The baker also cannot remember these ingredients.
But so their arc ends with the baker's wife wants to join him in this search, and he's like, no, this is my house, this is my curse, it's my responsibility.
And she's like, we are married, it is our house, we should be doing this together. But he heads off, and we get this awesome shot at the end of this song of all of these 4 different people making their way in different directions into the woods. So Jack, the baker, Red, and Cinderella.
And we also see like the stepsisters in their carriage heading to the ball.
Yes.
Okay, I have a gripe.
Tell me.
When the baker and the baker's wife, when the baker is getting ready to leave, the baker's wife appears to bring him a coat.
Right. Yes.
For his journey because of the woods. He's like, well, that was my father's coat. I'm not going to wear that. Yeah. Like, it's his fault that we're in this position in the first place. He stole from the witch. Yeah. He got us cursed. And so he throws the coat to the ground and like goes to get a different coat. The baker's wife picks up the coat and discovers dried beans in the pocket.
Yeah.
She's like, these must be the witch's beans. We'll bring them with us. Give them back to the witch. Problem solved. Movie over.
Nah.
Truly curse reversed.
Well, I think
I'm sure that's not...
They didn't know that it would reverse the... Like, the witch specifically was like, these 4 items, and they're like, bet.
Logically, I'm like,
I know.
Also, just ask.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe the witch is never there.
Next door, knock,
knock. In my notes. give the beans back, problem solved.
Yeah.
I did not remember that. And I also don't. So this is a funny. I'm going to say this now. I've never seen a stage production of Into the Woods.
Yeah, me neither.
So I'm not. This is not a situation. This is not a Sweeney Todd situation where I'm like, I know this stage production and I know what you've changed.
Yes.
So other than what I read in my dramaturgy of like the songs that were cut and like the B plot from Act 2 that was cut.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's even in the stage musical. Let me know in the comments.
I think it is because it's a huge part of the plot. What happens to these
That's
beans.
true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Sondheim, I have notes. Anyway, we cut to Cinderella visiting her mother's grave at the willow tree in the forest.
Yes.
And she tells her mother that I just want to go to the festival. And we get a
little song.
Brief appearance of Cinderella's mother as a ghost in this tree.
Yeah. And the leaves spin around her. Basically, this is her mother's spirit saying, I'm happy to grant you this wish if this is what you wish. And she like sends all these willow leaves around her and she gets this stunningly beautiful golden dress along with matching slippers. Slippers, one might say, as pure as gold.
The actress that plays Cinderella's mother is Joanna Riding, who's like a West End legend.
Yes.
And is just in this
30 seconds.
film for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But also, I'm sorry, ma'am, you had a magic tree this whole time? You could have
made a wish.
Could have made a wish that's more than I don't even
glow
know.
up?
Like a glow up, just like get out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Anyway, so we cut to Little Red Riding Hood. So she is on her way through the woods to her grandmother's and she runs into the big bad wolf, played by Johnny Depp. Trigger warning, there's a weird sexual undertone to this song as well, which is a part of this narrative.
I was going to say, that is consistent with the original stage production.
Little Red's entire arc is very much an allegory for a woman growing up and being sexualized too young. Anyway, so she runs into the big bad wolf who tries to lure her off the path. She mentions that she's on her way to her grandmother's house, and like in his internal monologue we get this song Hello Little Girl, where he's dreaming about what it would be like to eat the grandmother and her as well, and tries to convince her
in the same day.
Yes, and tries to convince her to stray from the path, and eventually succeeds once he shows her to this like lovely field of wildflowers. So she stops to pick a bouquet and he scoots ahead.
Yeah. Cut to the baker in the woods.
Yes.
Accosted by the witch. She
Yes.
just appears. She yells at him that, like,
Hurry
we
up.
are on a time crunch. Hurry up. And she's gonna keep yelling at him, but then she hears far off singing of, like, a young maiden, and she leaves in a tornado.
Yes. She travels by tornado, truly.
She travels by tornado. But the baker stumbles upon Little Red picking flowers. Wolf, nowhere to be seen.
Yes.
Wolf has moved on to Granny.
Yes.
And the baker's like, oh my god, you have a cape as red as blood. That is one of the 4 things I need. He does not know how to talk to children.
No.
Which is
not at all.
But also, like, we've established that they have a bit of an antagonistic relationship.
Yes. And he basically awkwardly steals it from her, and like rips it off of her. And then we get one of my giggles, which is just her, like, full, like, shoulders back, head to the sky, shriek.
Screaming.
Like, at a pitch that only children are able to achieve. Like, you know that sound that you get when a child screams? And it's like, wow, dogs can hear that.
Yeah, normally only dogs can hear that.
Yeah.
He, to stop her from screaming, gives her back the cape, being like, wow, I just wanted to see how much you really love this cape.
Yeah.
Be careful, there's wolves in these woods, and she's like, I'd rather a wolf over you any day, and stomps his foot, runs away.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm in pain.
Yes.
And he kind of hobbles off, and surprise, his wife has followed him into the woods. She doesn't see this interaction with Little Red.
Yes.
But he's like, what are you doing here? And she brings him his scarf.
Yes.
To where she's like, hey, we're gonna get cold. And they argue again of like, no, like, I should be doing this solo. No, we should be doing this together. And as they argue, they see Jack and Milky White walking by. And they're like, oh, A cow as white as milk.
Incredible. So they go forward and they ask Jack what he's doing. He's like, oh, I'm taking it to be sold no less than 5 pounds. And at first the baker's like, oh God, where am I going to get that money? And then his wife goes forward and is like, well, what if instead of 5 pounds, I give you 5 of they have 6 magic beans. What if I give you 5 of our magic beans? They're worth easily a pound each and they're magical. And he says, incredible, and sold, made, and they
I love
swap.
when the baker's wife, she's talking off to the side with the baker, and they're like, we don't have any gold. Oh no, not the beans. We couldn't possibly give him the beans. And they just swindle this child. They swindle this
quite dumb child.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah.
But Jack does say, okay, listen, do you promise to let me buy back Milky White
one day
when I have money one day? And they're like,
100, sure. Yeah, okay. I might. Why not?
I might,
yes.
Is what they say. Jack runs off, and the baker confesses to his wife. He's like, I'm not sure I'm gonna be a good parent.
Yes. And
he tells her to go home.
Yes. And she's like, well, at least do this for me. Don't save a relationship with the baby team. So he sends her home with the cow. And now we cut to our first Prince Charming. So I figure that
our first prince.
It's like Prince Billy and Prince Chris. Like they have no others.
I was calling them Prince 1 and Prince 2.
Sure, like thing 1, thing 2.
They are in the show. They are Cinderella's prince and
Rapunzel's prince. Yes. So we meet
Prince
Rapunzel's
2,
prince.
Billy, played by Billy Magnuson.
Mm-hmm.
A prince gallops on a white horse. And hears that same maiden singing from before that the witch
heard,
like escaped via tornado.
Yes.
And he spies. He comes to a glen where there's a tower and surrounded by briars, and he watches the witch go to the base of the tower, lean up, and cry out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Mm-hmm. And hear her voice. He sees a young, gorgeous maiden with long, long blonde hair appear, and he has instant heart eyes.
Yes.
He is so enraptured by her, and he watches Rapunzel throw out of the window in the tower this long, long braid of hair, and watches the witch use the hair to climb up the tower.
And then he falls out of his perch.
He falls out of his perch. We have some good physical comedy in this.
Yes.
He knows her name is now Rapunzel.
Exactly.
And he scampers off, and
away.
We cut to Red inside Rapunzel's tower.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
There's
like a little moment.
Very, very briefly. Yeah, where we just establish that Rapunzel calls the witch mother, and the witch clearly has a lot of affection for this child that she stole.
Yes. Yeah, so basically
then we get to
she's been stuck in this tower her whole life. She's never left. Then we cut to Little Red Riding Hood as she arrives to her grandmother's house, and she sees the door slightly ajar, and so instead of going to find an adult, she's like, I must investigate myself. So she goes in and goes down the stairs into this like very dark, ill-lit house, and finds in her grandmother's house the wolf there impersonating her grandmother, and he gobbles her up in one single bite.
Yep.
Just then, outside, the baker arrives and heads into the house, I think because he's trying to follow Red.
He hears her scream. He's just like passing by.
Yeah.
And then he hears a small child scream.
A scream that he has recently heard.
And he's like, oh no.
Well, I still need her cape.
Good.
So
he goes into the house, he goes down the stairs, and he finds the wolf asleep in the bed, stomach hugely distended, and a little bit of the red cape kind of dribbling out of his mouth. He takes his knife, stabs the wolf in the stomach. We don't see this. We just see him lift the knife. Then we cut to outside. We hear the of a wolf in pain.
Yes.
And then we see the baker leaving the grandmother's house being like, I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah.
And followed by Red and the grandmother.
The grandmother's
like, aren't you going to help us skin that beast?
What kind of huntsman are you?
He's like, I'm a baker.
But Red runs up
Red
to
chases after him.
Yes. And thanks him for saving them. And she sings the song, I Know Things Now. which again, her whole story is just an allegory for the quick adulthood that a lot of children are put through. And at the end of the song, gifts the baker her red cape as a thank you and says, maybe my grandmother will make me a new cape out of the skin of that wolf.
But hey, they've got 2 of the 4. They've got Milky White and they've got the cape.
And it's
now.
only day 1.
Cut to Jack home.
Yes.
Revealing to his mother, like, I got these magic beans. And Jack's mother's like, you idiot.
God
you were
damn it.
swindled. Beans! And she's like, I can't believe I have such a stupid son. And she just throws the beans over her shoulder.
Yes.
And they puff into magical dust, and Jack is sent to sleep without supper.
Yes.
He goes up into the hayloft, flops down, and we pan out the window to see the beginnings of an enormous beanstalk starting to grow.
Absolutely. We cut then to the king's castle.
Like later that night.
The end of the festival, Cinderella fleeing the castle after dancing with the prince all night. And then we see for the first time, Cinderella's prince, Chris Pine.
Piss crying!
Piss crying! Love him. He's so good. He's like my giggle. He's my moment of joy. He's so great in this movie. It's such a delight.
He's my favorite Hollywood Chris.
He's my favorite Chris.
He appears with that big
so
hair
handsome. And like
and
the
a little
pompadour,
little
bit of scruff.
Yeah. And he says, as he watches her leave, what does he say? He was like,
I must find that girl.
Or something like
yeah.
her. Yeah.
And so we cut to the woods. Cinderella is running through the woods and she runs into the baker's wife, who is still in the woods.
I think they literally like crash into
each other.
No, she trips and Cinderella trips and the baker's wife finds her.
Got you.
And Cinderella hears guards chasing her.
Yes.
And to the baker's wife goes just like, you didn't see me, and she hides. Mm-hmm. The baker's wife has 1 second to be like, what are you talking about before she is set upon by guards on horseback and the prince. And the second the baker's wife sees the prince, she gets like starstruck.
God.
Which, to be honest, if I was walking through the woods and Chris Pine rode up on horseback, I would have the same reaction.
I'd be truly speechless. But she lies to him and says that she doesn't know where the girl went or who she was. I didn't see her, and so he rides off. And so we have a lovely scene between Cinderella and the baker's wife where
I love when the baker's wife goes, I've never lied to royalty before.
I've never anything to royalty before. And so the baker's wife asks Cinderella, like, oh my god, what was the prince like?
What was he like?
Oh my god.
What was the party like?
Oh my god, it must have been so fun. And Cinderella kind of confesses, like, I'm not used to this. I was a little bit uncomfortable. He's obviously incredibly charming and handsome, but I don't really know what to think of him because I don't meet a lot of princes. Like, I don't have a lot of comparison.
Now, and this is delivered via song.
Yes.
This is the song.
A very
it's like
nice
a minute
prince.
and 30 seconds. It's short. A very nice prince, which it's very nice, Paul.
Yes.
And that song comes back later.
Yes.
But Baker's wife is clearly just like it's like the same as like reading celebrity gossip
100%.
magazines, like so hungry for any kind of details that they can latch onto about this other world.
But just as Cinderella is about to leave, she notices that Cinderella's
baker's wife.
Sorry, yes. The baker's wife notices that Cinderella's shoes happen to be as pure as gold. And so right as Cinderella is running off, the baker's wife yells, "Wait, I need your shoes!" But at the same moment, a lightning crashes and Milky White, frightened, runs in the opposite direction. And so the witch appears and is like, "Get the cow!
One midnight gone!" Such a good, it's not end of Act 1, but it's like such a good climactic end of the first night.
Yes.
If you think of Act 1 in 3 parts, this is like the end of Act Part 1. Cut to the next morning, Jack's mother wakes up to discover a beanstalk has grown outside of her house up into the sky. And we get a great little bit of physical comedy of her just, again, exactly like how Little Red screamed, just full chest out.
And then we see Jack running through the woods, and
a lot of running. There's a lot of, I'm doing this a lot. This I'm pumping my fists like I'm running.
Yeah.
A lot of running in this musical.
Exactly. And runs into the baker and says that he has 5 gold pieces to trade back for Milky White. And he pulls out 5 massive, like dinner plate sized gold pieces. And when the baker asks where he got them, he sings the song, "There Are Giants in the Sky."
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Jack is not normally played by a child in stage productions. I think he's normally played... Really?
Yes,
okay.
the original was played, I think, by a 16-year-old.
Okay, so but he's normally like closer to late teens. Whereas this child, the guy that's playing him in this is like 10, I think, and that's a distinction I want to make.
Yes, so I think the character is 10. It's just, you know, it's easier to hire someone that's slightly older.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Anyway, we get the song "Giants in the Sky," which.
Lovely.
There
Gorgeous.
are giants in the sky.
What a great fun song.
Mm-hmm.
Basically telling about how he went up the beanstalk, met a giant woman up there, and he somehow got 5 gold pieces and ran back down to trade it back for Milky White.
So he could buy Milky White back, his true friend. And he's like, well, where is Milky White? And the baker's like, so about that. Because last he saw, he left Milky White with his wife.
On her way back to the house, yeah.
And then Jack runs off to go...
Well, so he says, I want to buy it back. And the baker was like, I didn't say that I would sell it back. I said that I might. And he was like, oh, well, then do you want more? No worries. I'll go and get more. And the baker's like, whoa, hold on. Stop. But Jack doesn't listen and just runs off, which at that point, like, runs off as the baker's wife is coming in, and it doesn't have the cow. And he's like, I have the cloak. And she's like, that's great. And realize that she lost the cow, and they start arguing, at which point the witch appears and has one of my favorite moments of, who cares? And tells them to get it back. Keep going. Come on now.
Cow's gone. Get it back. Stay focused.
Yes.
The baker and the baker's wife, they apologize to each other, being like, look, this is a stressful time. We're both not at our best right now.
Yes.
But the baker, again, asks her just to go home.
Yeah.
Go home where it's safe. And so she presumably they part ways, and she presumably walks off home. We meet our two princes. We meet each other in the woods.
Each
they
other.
are brothers.
Like galloping past
One's
each
on
other.
A white horse. Absolute numpties. So Prince 1 and Prince 2, Cinderella's prince and Rapunzel's prince.
Yes.
And they're like, oh my god, you have a princess? I have a princess.
Yes, and we get my favorite song of this movie, which is Agony. This is my giggle. This is my moment of joy. It's so great.
Oh god. So a little bit of context. Rapunzel's prince is obviously like, I met an amazing maiden. She's up high in a tower. And Cinderella's prince is like, I met an amazing maiden. I'm looking for her. She ran away from me.
Yes.
And the baker's wife, who is on her way home, sees them and overhears Rapunzel's prince describe Rapunzel as like this gorgeous maiden whose hair is as yellow as corn. And she lives 2 leagues in that direction. And the baker's wife is like, oh, okay, I'm going to not go home. And instead, I'm going to go in that direction and get some of that hair.
Yes, exactly.
And then we get the song Agony, where these 2 princes cannot understand why women would
run from them or like
not.
Yeah, and they're like competing about whose story is like more romantic or more tragic, and they're on a waterfall, and the amount of physical acting. There's like a moment where Rapunzel's prince like falls to her knees and it's like, if only there were doors, and like looks to camera. And like at one point Cinderella's prince like rips open his shirt, and so Rapunzel's prince looks over and also rips over his shirt. It's so funny. And the actors talked about this being the worst day because they were in leather pants in water, and they were like, the chafe. Like,
but leather pants in water is such a choice.
Brutal.
God, do I love these 2 dunces. And okay, so there was a moment earlier where I said people are aware we're in a musical, and this is one of those moments where you see Chris Pine like lift up his arms to start to sing, and then Billy Magnuson starts to sing, and you see him be like, wait,
God damn it, that was my line. I know. God. And then the line, of course, that we both love from this, where it's just like, the girl must be mad. Like
the girl must be mad. There are some bold acting choices, and I am
and it pays
for
off.
It
pays off.
And it pays off because they're both taking it It's like Michael Caine in the Muppet Christmas Carol,
Yes.
where like you play it as seriously
Dead
as a
serious.
funeral,
100%.
and that's what makes it so funny.
God, it's great.
There only were doors. So the baker's wife cut to the baker's wife,
Yes.
having run in the direction Rapunzel's prince pointed at, finds Rapunzel's tower, calls up to her, being like, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me. Rapunzel doesn't know what anyone sounds like, apparently, and does. Baker's wife tries to figure out how the frick she's gonna get this hair. She like tries to tug on it, and it doesn't work. So she essentially tries to like run off with it, and then happens to run it against
a sharp
like
metal
a spiky
thing. Yeah.
off the other side, and like shears some of it off.
Yes.
So she gets about
A good 6 feet.
I want to say like 6 to 8 feet that
Yeah.
she like wears around her neck like a boa.
Yeah, exactly.
And then runs off.
Exactly.
Cut to night number 2. A whole day the day has turned to night. Cinderella is running from the prince at the ball again.
Yes.
She's pursued again by the guards through the forest. The baker's wife intercepts her in the forest. And
Almost
actually,
grabs
like,
her.
Does she?
Well, she like jumps out to grab her foot, and has the shoe in her hand. She's like, I need this. And Cinderella yoinks it out of her hand and flees and like gets it out of her hand. And that's when the prince comes riding up again and is just like, where is she? She's like, I don't know. Like, she's so tired.
Who is she?
Yeah.
And the prince is like, and Baker's wife is like, I tried to stop her for you, just so she doesn't get in trouble.
I don't need
And
your
the guy's
help
like,
catching my own wife.
I can pursue my own maiden.
Yeah.
And runs off.
The baker is in the woods, sees the step siblings in a carriage and like hops into it and is like, excuse me, can I compare your hair to this ear of corn? And they toss him out and he like sits dejectedly, and then it rises up underneath him and realizes that he's sitting on Milky White. So he has found the cow again.
Found Milky White via sitting.
Yes, exactly.
And he then runs into his wife, and they're like, oh my god, we have 3 of the 4. We have a whole day left to get the 4,
and
we
know
already know
to
where the
get
slipper is.
The 4th thing.
Yeah. And we get the duet, It Takes Two.
Such a cute
song. It's such a cute song. It starts with the baker's wife commenting on how the baker's changed. Being in the woods, he's more daring, he's braver, he's like taking more risks, and she's like, man, it's hot.
Yeah, man, you're a different person in here.
But the song ultimately culminates of like, hey, we are more successful when we work together.
Yes. Takes two. Just then, they are interrupted by Jack arriving with a massive golden egg. They are arguing about this because the wife realizes that like her husband has taken 5 gold pieces already and like has promised to give Milky White back for some like there's this whole argument, and as this argument is happening, Milky White keels over and dies.
Just dies. Just full on dies.
Yep.
And now everyone's screwed.
Yes.
Because where are they going to get another cow as white as milk?
Yes.
And the witch appears very briefly and goes, second midnight,
yes,
gone!
but just like her voice, like she wasn't there. It's just kind of like her like time.
Her omnipresent.
Yeah. So then we cut to Rapunzel's tower. We see the prince leaving. He does a very stupid bit of diving out of the tower window and trying to catch the hair and like bangs into the side of the wall.
Billy Magnuson has good physical comedy. I love that Robert Marshall made space for physical comedy.
Yeah.
In this film.
100%.
But you're right. Rapunzel's prince definitely spent the night 100%. In Rapunzel's tower. And the witch watches him as he leaves. And the physical comedy is that he like dives for the hair and fully slams his body against the tower.
Like, ow, bad idea.
But she sees him leaving on his horse. She shoots out her arm, some of her blue magic causing briars to grow rapidly. His horse spooks and bucks him into the briars and implies that he dies?
Or is attacked. It's unclear. He has been injured at the very least. And so then we cut to upstairs. She has made it upstairs, and we get the song.
The witch.
Yes, the witch has made it upstairs, and we get the song Stay With Me, which starts incredibly aggressively with her accusing Rapunzel for breaking her rules.
Well, it's 2 songs. It's Children Must Listen into Stay With Me.
Yes.
the song Children Must Listen is the witch scolding Rapunzel for not listening to her, and then we get the emotional manipulation song of this show, which is Stay With Me.
Yes.
Where she's like, oh, I'm old, I'm ugly, I embarrass you.
Yes.
If only you would stay with me. I love it when Meryl belts.
God, she's
I love
great.
me some beltin' Meryl.
God, she's fantastic. But at the end, Rapunzel is not, like, contrite enough, and so the witch, in retaliation, cuts off her hair and banishes her from the tower.
Yeah, cuts off all of her hair.
Cut to in the woods again. Always in the woods. We're gonna say cut to
Where?
the woods, like,
The woods.
100 times.
Cut to the woods. Jack stumbles upon Little Red.
Yes.
They've never interacted before, and he's
No.
like, cool, nice cloak, because she's wearing her wolfskin cloak. And
Hell yeah.
And Little Red's got no chill. She's like, I'm gonna stab you.
I know,
And
she
he's
pulls
like,
a
"Whoa,
knife and it's
Okay, okay.
Wow.
But anyway, they, like, brag to each other about, like, she brags about her cloak, and he's like, well, I have a golden egg.
Yeah.
And she's like, where'd you get that egg? He's like, I got it from the kingdom of the giants up in the clouds. And she's like, you're a liar. That's something liars say.
Yeah. That's
And she
something
dares-
liars say.
And she dares him to go and, like, steal something else.
Yes, and so he runs off.
Because she doesn't believe him.
Yes.
That's something liars say.
That's such a funny line. So, we then get a quick moment of him, I think it goes immediately into him climbing down the beanstalk with this massive golden harp, which is actually just like a normal-sized harp. I don't know what giant plays that, but,
No, it's an enchanted harp. I don't think they play it. I think it was
enchanted
just like... So Jack stole the Alexa out of the...
got you,
giant's
yeah.
home. That was the purpose of this harp.
And we hear a giant following him down the beanstalk. And as soon...
my heart.
Exactly. And as soon as Jack lands, he starts chopping down the beanstalk.
And the beanstalk falls with the giant on it. The
Boom.
entire... the entire kingdom kind of shakes. And the baker and his wife come out of, like, into a clearing in the woods and see... I think they see the beanstalk and the dead giant and are like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh, I don't remember that. Maybe. But I do know that what they do, they agree, they have 2 items that they need to get. They need to find another cow as white as milk, and they need to get the slipper. So the baker's wife is like, I'll track down the slipper. I've seen her twice. I know that, like, I'll know that where she'll be, and I know I can get it. And he's like, rad, I'll run to the next town. I'll find a cow. We have these 5 massive gold coins, so I should be able to get a cow for this. And they split up, and he says, you know, why are we always separating? And she's like, we have to separate so we can be together. Cut to
that evening. Cinderella is, for the 3rd time, fleeing from the ball, and surprise, she gets stuck in tar on the steps exiting the palace.
Yes.
And we get the song On the Steps of the Palace, which, if you're a soprano, you know the song.
Of course. And it's in bullet time a little bit, where...
Yeah, oh god, there's that great shot
of the
where she, like,
sparks?
runs down... Yeah, she runs down the stairs, she gets stuck, she turns around, and we see Chris Pine... I'm just calling him Chris Pine.
Yes.
We see Cinderella's prince appearing to chase after her, and time slows down.
And the braziers behind him just... with sparks behind him. It's stunning. Gorgeous.
It's such a good shot. I wonder how they did that. Anyway, this song that she sings, A Very Nice Prince, is the full version of what she initially sang to the baker's wife when she was describing, or it's the same melody of what she was describing the ball was like.
Basically deciding what she wants to do, because
what is she hasn't had any agency in her life before.
Yeah, well, and her main concern is just like, he doesn't know me, he doesn't know who I am. Should I go back to a place where I'm myself but everything feels bad, or should I follow him to a place where everything feels good but I'm not myself? Which, what a lovely song to talk about that dilemma. But she ends up deciding, I'm not going to make a decision right now, because she hasn't been making a decision this whole time. Why would she start now? And she's like, what I will do, though, is I'll leave him a little breadcrumb, a little clue. And I will leave my shoe here in the pitch, and he will, if he wants to find me from that, he will. So she leaves a shoe and hits her final note.
I like that's a choice versus she accidentally leaves a shoe, which is what it is in Disney.
Yes.
And the song ends. She runs away successfully.
Yes.
And the prince runs down the stairs after her, sees the shoe, grabs it, and then to his steward is like, send everybody home. Like, cancels the rest of the ball.
Cancel
She
the
won't
ball.
She won't get far with one shoe, is what he says.
Exactly.
Cut to Cinderella for the third night in a row, running through the forest. She is tackled by the baker's wife.
Well, the baker's wife stops her, and Cinderella has one shoe in her hand because she's running barefoot. She's like, you've attacked me before. And she's like, I need your shoe to have a baby. And Cinderella's like, that doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense. Which, too fair.
Just so fair.
The baker's like, the baker's wife's like, look,
I'll give you my shoes.
I'll give you a magic bean.
Oh, true.
And Cinderella is like, but no, and throws the bean over her shoulder. But baker's wife says, look, I'll give you my shoes. You'll run away better. You'll run away faster with my shoes. And Cinderella acquiesces because she's still running, takes her shoes, runs away. Neither of them see a beanstalk start to grow from that bean getting thrown.
Because it's at night.
It's at night, and Cinderella escapes. Does the prince come through?
Yes.
Oh, yes, he does.
Because
the
the
steward
porter,
sees that the baker's wife has the shoe and tries to take it from her, and the prince is like, we don't need that.
We don't need 2 shoes. And the porter's like, oh, all right, have it back. So
Peon, he calls her.
Yes. So we have all of the items now. Back at
Well, no, we have the golden slipper.
Yes.
We don't know if the baker has his cow yet.
Yes.
Cut to the prince going through every single town in the kingdom in a single night looking for
like
Cinderella.
Santa. Perfect.
We get to just like Santa. We get to Cinderella's house. Cinderella is home. She's changed back into her scullery maid outfit,
Yes.
and she sees the prince come through the gates. And the stepmother greets him, and we see the stepmother. Trigger warning for body
Mutilation.
What's the word? Body mutilation. The stepmother first cuts off one of her daughter's toes to fit in the shoe. That doesn't work because they catch that she's bleeding. Then she cuts off the heel of the others, and this is done via song. And so both daughters fail. The prince asks if there are any other women, like young women in the house. She goes, I'm just a scullery maid. Just then, Cinderella appears from around the side of the house, and the prince, to his credit, kind of recognized her.
Okay.
Because she
but
wasn't
also,
wearing a mask or anything.
I know, that's the thing. She's not wearing a mask, my guy. Why did you think it was these other 2? He puts on the shoe, and the second he puts on the shoe, he's like, I'd recognize your eyes anywhere. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Can we talk about the sensual stocking removal?
Listen, I don't know if we should.
Maybe it's the fact that I've been reading a lot of romance novels recently, but like to put the shoe on her foot, he first takes her sock off.
It's like a knee-high stocking.
And we have like a close shot of him slowly sliding that sock down, and I went,
oh,
sir, I don't remember that. I'm fanning myself, dear listener. And it's a perfect fit, of course. And then, insult to injury, Cinderella's birds fly down and peck out the eyes of the stepmother and
It's just the stepdaughters. It's
or
not the mother.
It's just the stepdaughters. Which is crazy because the stepmother
should be the
was
stepmother
the worst
too.
of them all. Yeah.
But they are reunited. And
I'm sorry, there has been a narrator this whole time.
Right.
It's normally a
character.
A different character, but for this reason it's the baker.
Yes.
For this film it's the baker. And he so casually is like, Cinderella's birds flew down to the stepsisters and blinded them. So casually. It's so funny.
But hey, that's the Grimm's fairy tale version.
That's Grimm's fairy tale.
So
cut to Rapunzel.
Cut to the woods.
Swamp where she's been banished.
And Rapunzel, who's been banished.
Man, these woods have everything. Glens, forests, swamps.
So she's singing mournfully in the swamp, and suddenly she hears
like her lullaby in a mic.
Yes, exactly. Suddenly she hears her prince calling out, so she goes running across the swamp through snake-infested waters and comes to him and cries over him, and her tears he's reunited, and he says, I'm blind, the thorns blinded me, I can't see, and she cries over him, and her tears restore his sight, and he's like, oh my god, your hair's short, I love it, and they make out.
Yeah, it's cute. Cut to the baker and the baker's wife. They reunite in the woods.
Yes.
They have all 4 ingredients.
Yes, he shows up with the cow.
They're like, the witch appears, and she's like, great, wait a second. This cow,
She goes,
something's off with this
yeah,
cow.
and she goes and like just does a little quick pat on it and pulls her hand up, and she's like, this cow is covered with flour. This is not the right ingredient.
Yeah. This is not a white cow. And the baker's wife is like,
You
couldn't find
idiot.
a white cow? And the baker's like, I was on a time crunch. And they say the baker and the baker's wife say to the witch, like, look, we had a pure white cow, but she died. We didn't know what to do. And she's like, well, I'll bring the
it
cow back to life. Where is
Yeah.
it? And they're like, we didn't know that was an
I
option.
know, so they run back, and they find Jack, and Jack's mom are there too, around Milky White. Jack's mom finds him with a golden harp and asks like, oh my god, what happened? But just then the witch and everyone else shows up. So she brings the witch brings Milky White back from the dead and is like, quickly
Crazy.
feed them. Now, one thing we haven't mentioned, which is silly, is that one of the rules of this spell is that the witch cannot touch any of the ingredients. So that is why she has asked for the baker and the baker's wife to collect these ingredients.
There were a couple of moments where the baker, like, once he got the cape, tries to give it to the witch. He's like, I can't touch it. I've said this before.
Yes.
But so they feed all the ingredients to the baker and the baker's wife, and Jack feed all the ingredients to Milky White. They feed the cape, they feed the hair, they feed the slipper. And Jack goes to milk Milky White, and no milk comes out.
Yeah.
And the witch says, wrong ingredients.
And so they go over the
Sorry.
ingredients, and the baker's wife...
The baker and the baker's wife are like, no, we did everything. Yeah. We even got this hair.
I pulled it from a maiden in a tower, and the witch is like, fuck! She's like, I know that. How did you get that? I can't have touched any of the ingredients. And they're like, we compared it to this corn, and Jack... the smartest moment he has, Jack is like, just use like the hair that's from the corn. Like, corn has like the hair inside of it that you have to pluck out. And they're like, oh my god, brilliant. And so they feed that to the cow. It works, and they're able to get some milk from the cow, pass it to the witch. She drinks it, and the spell works.
Oh,
and the wife,
does the spell work?
The wife, baker's wife, instantly becomes like 7 months pregnant.
7 months pregnant, instantly pregnant. And the witch becomes hot again. Oh, she has a full gown transformation. Her hair is all done up. She's so hot. She's so hot. And then we cut to the next, a couple months later, it's Cinderella's wedding processional through the roads of this town. So this is... Everybody in the village has turned out to, like, see them, like, ride through the town. And
my biggest
so Cinderella
giggle.
and Prince Charming are waving from their carriage, and they drive past the baker and the baker's wife in the crowd, and they're holding the baby, and they're like, thanks for the slipper. And Cinderella's face is
horrified.
What?
Just like, because she waves at the baker's wife like, oh my god, I recognize you. And she's like, thanks for your help with the new baby. And she's like, like...
And the processional leads up to a terrace on the castle that kind of overlooks, like, all the villagers are standing underneath it, and they're all waving, and Rapunzel and her prince are standing there as well. The stepmother and the stepsisters are there with their, like, canes and their sunglasses, and everyone's happy. And then suddenly a crash is heard, and the entire, like, a tower falls on the castle. In the chaos, both Jack and Rapunzel book it for reasons unknown. Yeah. And Rapunzel's prince chases after her. Jack's mother, like, looks for him. Yes. But Prince Charming, Cinderella's prince, makes an announcement being like, everybody calm down. It was just an earthquake that was far away. There is absolutely nothing to be concerned about. As we pan up and see...
another beanstalk from the middle of the forest.
Another beanstalk.
Yes.
Yeah. We cut to the woods as we count number 7,000. And the baker and the baker's wife with their baby are walking through, and they come across Little Red with a suitcase who is lost. And they're like, what are you doing here all by yourself? Yeah. She goes, well, my entire village was destroyed. I don't know where my mom is. And so I was going to find my grandmother, and the woods aren't the same. They're
different.
The woods are different, and I'm lost now. Yeah. And I know these woods really well. Yeah. So they're like, okay, you can come with us. We're also trying to get home. Yes,
they also run into the stepsister and the stepmother and a bunch of other, like, that porter and everything, also trying
the royal
to
steward.
Like, find their way through these new and unknown woods. And just then, a massive giantess appears, and it is the wife of the giant that had chased Jack down originally and fallen and died. And she is furious and wants them to deliver Jack to her for her to enact her vengeance.
Yeah, she wants revenge on Jack, who killed her husband. Jack is not there. So the witch appears. So of this group of people that are below the giant who are receiving this information are the stepmother, the stepsisters, the royal steward, a couple of servants, Baker's wife, Little Red, and the witch appears.
Out of nowhere.
The witch appears out of nowhere, is like, okay,
we'll get him.
Calm down, stop moving, we'll get Jack for you. Because every time the giant steps, like, the ground shakes.
So she's like, stay here. Don't move.
Yeah.
I'll get him for you.
But Jack's mother is also there.
Yes.
And she runs in because she's looking for Jack. She's like, well, have you seen him? Have you seen him? And they're all like, shut the fuck up. This giant is here looking for Jack as well. And Jack's mother, in like mama bear fashion, stands up to the giantess and is like, you don't come near my son. You'll never find him. How dare you? And the steward kind of gets in front of her and is on the side of the witch, is like, we'll get him for
and
you.
Pushes
like,
her to the ground.
Shut up, woman. Yeah. Pushes her to the ground and lies. The steward lies to the giantess, being like, I think he's over there, and points away, and the giant walks in that direction.
As the giant leaves, everyone's like, what do you mean? Like, we can't give Jack up. And then they look and they see that Jack's mother, when she was pushed to the ground by the steward, hit her head on like a piece of wood or stone,
a tree,
on the ground, and is dying. She has a couple of moments, but she soon passes. And once she passes,
and the steward didn't mean to,
was just trying to stop her from antagonizing the giantess that was killing everyone in the kingdom. The witch,
the witch says, if we don't give Jack to the giantess, yes, she's gonna kill him, but if she doesn't get him, she's gonna kill half the kingdom.
Absolutely. So it's a big old trolley problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a trolley problem.
So we cut then to the ruined Rapunzel's tower. Rapunzel is there crying. I think she had run away because she was frightened and went to the one place that felt like home. And and her mother, the witch, arrives looking stunning. And at first, Rapunzel does not recognize her. But she's talking to Rapunzel and is like, it's me. Now you don't need to be embarrassed by me. Come, we have to go, though. There's a giant. It's not safe. Come with me. And just then, Rapunzel's prince comes in. It's like, she's not going anywhere with you. Like, she's coming with me. And the witch is like, I didn't want to have to do this. And like goes to throw magic at him. And nothing.
Also, the prince is like, she's the one that, like, you're the one that blinded me before.
Yes. And the witch goes to throw magic at him, and nothing comes out. And we have this funny moment of her just looking at her hands like, oh my God. And just that, and Rapunzel is like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. You locked me in a tower. You attacked us. I'm going with him. And so she and the prince run off. And we get via horse, and we get the witch's lament of her watching her essentially her daughter ride away from her. And I wrote, God, Meryl is so beautiful. Stunning. And a lyric that stuck with me is, children can only grow from something you love to something you lose. I know. God, Sondheim is so good. Shit. Sondheim knows what he's doing. Crazy. All right. So. Knew what he's doing. R.I.P. We cut to the woods. And. We cut to the woods. And the Bakers decide to split up. I ended up calling them the Bakers. That's funny. Baker's wife, and Red are all together. They're looking for Jack. The Baker's wife suggests that they split up. The Baker doesn't want to do that. Baker's wife leaves their newborn with Red. And it's like, and so she and the Baker paces. Well, 500 in opposite directions to see what we can find. And the Baker gives her his scarf, which is the scarf that she gave him at the start of the film. And they walk in opposite directions, trying to find either like something that they recognize or Jack. While she's walking, the Baker's wife runs into the prince, letting his horse drink, and is a little starstruck again. But she's like, "So, are you here to like fight the giant?" And the prince is like, "Huh?" She's like, "Oh yeah, there's a giant. It's not an earthquake." Giant. And he's like, "Yes, of course I'm here for that. obviously. This man has no clue what's going on. So...
No.
And he asks her, oh, are you married? And she's like, yeah, I have a husband. It's like, oh, he lets you wander the woods? And she's like, well, I made this decision for myself. And he's like, how incredibly brave of you. May I kiss you? And like instantly goes into the song any moment and tries to seduce her. Hot.
Yeah. And succeeds.
Well, not in the Disney movie.
This is a man.
In the Disney movie, they only kiss. In the stage production, they 100% fuck.
Oh no, I think they definitely fucked in this woods. It just happened off screen in this film. But this is a man who is used to getting what he
Anyone
wants.
and anything.
And the lyrics are like anything can happen in the woods. And she tries to resist she resists a little bit, where she's like, no, you have a princess and I have a baker.
There is also a funny moment where it's like they have a moment where they kiss and like she pulls away and like turns away and he's like in the background like, oh, this is so hard. This is so much harder than usual. And then he's like on his knees and he's like, strange things can happen in the woods. Like it's such a good song.
It's such a good song. And again, they brought the physical comedy from the stage production to the film, and I think it succeeds.
Yes.
They definitely have sex in the woods. We don't see it, but they definitely do.
Disney.
Instead, we cut to the baker on his 500 paces due east or whatever, finding Cinderella sitting by the destroyed tree at her mother's grave, and he doesn't recognize her. He goes, you kind of look like the princess, but dirty. Oh my god, you are the princess.
What are you doing here? And so she got scared and like ran and wanted to like find her mother's tree, and she's like, I so many people have lost so much more than I have, but this is really something that's making me incredibly sad. And he's like, well, you know what, it's quite dangerous. There's a giant, don't know if you've heard. You should come with me if you would like safety in numbers. And so she agrees and goes with him. And we cut back to the baker's wife. They've finished fucking. And the prince leaves.
He leaves.
And it's just like...
He's like, I shall always remember how brave you were.
Always remember you.
To be out here alone in these woods.
Gallop. And so he gallops off. And then we get the song Moments in the Woods, sung as a solo by the baker's wife. Just talking about like the...
Is it a duet in the show?
I don't think so. I just called it a solo.
You just said it's sung as a solo, so I wondered if it was a duet.
I was being hyper-specific when I didn't need to be.
All good.
So singing this song about how sometimes when a brand new experience comes into your life, it makes you reconsider what you have. Is it always or? Is it never and? Can I have these two things that seem opposed, like that they wouldn't work together? Wouldn't I be able to have a little bit of both? But she also ends up...
Yeah, the lyrics go... The last verse are... Let the moment go. Don't forget it for a moment, though. Just remembering you've had an and when you're back to or makes the or mean more than it did before. Now I understand. And it's time to leave the woods.
So... As she's about, then she's like, okay, time to get back on task. And she gets a little bit turned around and isn't quite sure what direction that she should be going in. And suddenly, boom, boom, we get the steps. The giantess is on her way. And she's like trying to find a safe space, backing up, ends up over the edge of this new fissure in the woods, like a huge ravine and
like a canyon.
Loses her grip on a tree and falls to her death, out of frame.
We don't see her. We just see her fall.
Yeah, we just see her hand leave the tree, and that's kind of the implication.
Cut to the baker back with Cinderella and Red. He's returned from his 500 paces. He's confused why his wife hasn't returned yet. Suddenly, the witch appears with Jack in tow. Like, she's got him by the arm, being like, "Look who I found! Now we can give him to the giant." And the baker immediately clocks that Jack has the scarf that he gave to his wife. He's like, where did you find that? And Jack has to be the one to break the news to the baker that he found the baker's wife's body at the bottom of a ravine. Yeah. And then we get the accusation song, which I love. Starts really intense with the baker shouting at a child that it's their fault his wife is dead.
Yeah, I mean, listen, his grief in this...
Oh God, yeah.
And this whole thing, right up until he like actually finally has a breakdown, is like, I mean, it's anger, denial, you know, it's the whole 5 stages, you know, and it starts with anger at the person who brought him the news.
Yeah. I love this song.
Yes, it's called
so
Your
much.
Fault, where Cinderella, Jack, Red, and the baker all overlap and accuse each other based on their choices throughout the past, you know, hour and a half of this play. And finally, after going round and round and judging everyone's decisions and how that affected everyone else's decisions, they end up rounding on the witch and deciding that it's her fault because she's the one who grew the beans in the first place.
My favorite moment of this song is towards the end when they've turned on Jack for the heart.
Yeah.
And Jack's like to Red, she's like, well, she dared me to. You said I was scared. And so the baker, Cinderella, and Jack all turn on Little Red. And I just love when she goes, wait a minute!
Yeah.
And that's when it starts to build to the finale.
Crescendo.
They all turn on the witch and they go, you're responsible, you're the one to blame, it's your fault. And she turns around and goes, shh, because she has the baby in her arms.
Yeah,
They've all forgotten about the baby. And
then we get the 11 o'clock number, which is Last Midnight. God, I have chills just thinking about this song. So this song is, God, incredible. It is the witch kind of espousing her philosophy of like, of her standing in her own, of just like, I am who I am. I'm not good. I'm not nice. But sometimes you have to make a sacrifice for the common good. And ends up, by the end of this song, she has decided that she doesn't want to participate in this world of blame anymore. And she doesn't have her powers anymore, so she has one handful of beans left from her mother's garden, and she throws them into the air and asks her mother to curse her again as long as she gives her back her powers. And it ends up killing her, and she dissolves into tar.
Yeah. So I'm really glad you broke that down for me, because I never really understood this song.
Yeah.
I knew it was like this big penultimate moment, but I never really, even watching it again, of just understanding exactly what was happening, where I knew she said to her mother to curse her again. I knew she was throwing the beans. I understand that by throwing away the beans, she's entitling herself to the curse. But then actually, like, how she becomes the tar, I was unclear.
Yeah.
I've always been unclear of
what's
that, how that comes about. So it's because,
I mean, it's never fully explained. From my interpretation of it, I think that it's like, you know, the last time the beans were stolen from her, this time she's the one who's purposefully throwing away the beans, so the curse is worse.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it can be up to anyone as to why she ends up turning into tar. That's just kind of my reading on it. But I love the lyrics in this song, you know, and there's been, back at the beginning with Red's song, there's a lyric where she's like, you know, I learned a lot, especially that nice is different than good. And this is, and there's a callback to that in this song where she's like, I'm not good, I'm not nice, I'm right.
Bad.
And it's just such a fascinating song to think about, like, her progression from realizing, and it's the same thing with Cinderella, where it's like, are you sure that your wish is what you want? Have you thought about the consequences of what it is that you're looking for? I mean, this is a Consequences the musical, like,
the consequences they must quench.
The consequences they quench.
I mean, I'm looking at a summary where it's like, the witch laments the group's impending doom and mocks them for not taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Because it's coming right on the heels of the Your Fault song. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So she has left them to their devices.
Yeah.
So we cut.
And dissolved into tar.
And dissolves into tar.
The baker is just like, you know what? Fuck this. He abandons his son with Cinderella. He's like, I depended on my wife for everything. I'm useless as a father. I'm useless as a person.
Yeah.
That's like, I can't be here.
Yes.
And he leaves. He leaves them in the woods. And as he tries to find his way out of the woods, he talks with the ghost of his
spirit
father.
of his father, who abandoned him.
Yeah, who abandoned him, and his father's ghost urges him to be better than he was.
Yeah.
And the baker finally stops walking and just cries.
Breaks down crying. And, like, I did think that this moment was incredibly, like, poignant and important, of just, like, it's finding the quiet moment of grief when there's been a tragedy and an accident where you can't stop running. And then suddenly it's a quiet moment and he just breaks down and sobs over the grief of his lost wife, which he hasn't had a chance to fully digest because shit's happening and he doesn't have a lot of time. But after he cries, he makes his way back to the group of Jack, Cinderella, and Red. And they all chat about what they're gonna do.
And it's like, give me my son.
Yeah.
Give me my son. Like, he takes his son. They strategize about how they're gonna beat the giant. And they come up with a plan to use Jack as bait to lead the giant to the tar pit created by the witch's disappearance.
And Cinderella...
Just then... Yes. And they split up to, like, start setting up a trap.
Well, even before that, Cinderella, like, is like, oh, actually, we can get help as well from the birds as a distraction to, like, fly around her head. So she talks to the birds, and she's like, hey, little birds. And then we get, like, a back and forth where we only hear her side, where she's like, what about the prince? And then she looks a little taken aback, and then she's like, well, let's not worry about that right now.
It doesn't matter now.
We need to worry about this giant. And that was when Little Red is like, you can talk to birds. But yes, so then they all split up to prepare, and while Cinderella is preparing, her prince arrives.
And he doesn't recognize her at first. She, like, tries to keep her back to him, but then he immediately recognizes her and goes, my darling, what are you doing out here?
Yeah.
And she confronts him about what the birds told her, which is that they caught him fucking in the woods.
Yeah. God damn, you gotta be careful fucking in these woods.
The birds narked on him.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I was raised to be charming, not sincere.
Yeah.
And she says they're not a good fit. And he goes, oh, is that what you want? And she says yes. And so they agree to part ways.
And they have a line to each other where, you know, he says, I will always love the girl who ran away. And she says, and I, the faraway prince, which I think is an interesting thing because both of them are kind of acknowledging that what they were in love with was the mask of the other, like the, how do I want to say this?
The fantasy of
they're both in love with the fantasy of each other, the idea that they had built up in their minds of what the other person was, and acknowledging that once they actually were together, neither of them were what the other person needed. I just thought it was like a really like a good example of a mature breakup, like
conversation. Yeah.
Anyway,
they part. Red confesses to Cinderella that she thinks her mother and her grandmother would be disappointed in her for planning to murder a giant. Yeah. Like, aren't we supposed to show forgiveness? And we get the song No One Is Alone that Cinderella sings to Red and the baker sings to Jack.
Because the baker reveals to Jack that his mother has died and that it was an accident, that the porter or steward accidentally...
There's no one to blame.
There's no one to blame. And at first, Jack is like, well, we'll start with the giant and then I'll go and kill the steward. And the baker is like, no, this was an accident. And they have this moment. And he says, well, he did something wrong, so he should be punished. And it is an interesting song of having to deal with the contradictions of growing up and the gray areas of life and when you have to protect yourself and when something's an accident. And it's a really beautiful, poignant song.
It's such a pretty song.
But they are cut off by the steps of the giant.
Yes. Jack and the baker have climbed up into a tree, and then Little Red and Cinderella are there to intercept the giant and say, he's over there, leading the giant to walk through the tar pit to get close to the tree where Jack is. Mm-hmm. The giant steps into the tar pit and gets stuck. Like, it's almost like stepping into quicksand or cement. Like, she can't move her feet anymore. And Jack uses his slingshot. The baker has a slingshot as well to sling rocks at the giant's head. Cinderella's birds come and peck at the giant. Mm-hmm. And the Jack gets a bullseye between the giant's eyes that causes her to lose her balance. And they think she's going to fall, but then she reaches forward and grabs the tree that Jack and the baker are in and drags it down with her. The giant dies on impact.
Yes.
Jack and the baker survive somehow.
Somehow. Who's to say?
And our
armor.
quartet, our quartet is reunited with the baby.
Yes.
Or quintet. And Jack and Red ask, they're kind of like a what now situation. Like, we rid the land of this giant, but like that doesn't change the fact that like all our homes are destroyed and we have nowhere to go back to.
And both of their parents
Jack,
are dead. The grandmother, the mother, like everyone's dead.
Yeah, so Jack and Red essentially ask if they can move in with the baker because they have no one to look after them anymore.
And the baker's like, absolutely.
And the baker's like,
and turns to Cinderella and is like, and also if you would like a place to go, my home is open to you as well. She's like, absolutely.
And you having some as well.
Yes, and you as well having some. And she's like, there are times when I actually quite enjoyed the cleaning. And it's like, my love.
But so as the dust settles from the giant, the baker takes his son over to a downed tree and sits on it. And he's crying and he wonders if he wasn't ever meant to have children. The voice of his wife comforts him with you are not alone reprise, and says like, comfort the child, tell him a story, tell him what you know. And the baker begins the story that like that we hear, the intro that our film began with, which is Once Upon a Time. And Red, Jack, and Cinderella all sit around him and listen to him tell this story to his son as the witch's voice is heard with Children Will Listen, sung over top. Yeah. And then the sun comes out. Yeah. Oh, I have goosebumps just thinking about the last moment.
And that's the end.
And that's the end of Into the Woods. Wow.
Anna, what'd you think of this movie?
I love this movie. Again, having never seen a stage production, would like to see a stage production, would like to be in a stage production. And despite my best efforts earlier this year, was not able to be. It's fine. No, I love Sondheim. This is not a musical I grew up listening to.
No, me neither.
Actually. So this is not, which is surprising, but now that I think about it, I don't think I grew up listening to any Sondheim.
No.
It was just, we had Rodgers and Hammerstein.
That was it. I was much more of the golden oldies than I was like the classics of the 70s and 80s.
And every time I watch it, I am just struck with how relatable each of the characters is for different reasons.
100%.
And I think that's phenomenal storytelling.
Agreed. Shall we do a little dramaturgy?
Yeah, shall we do a little dramaturgy report?
Yes.
Dramaturgy report. So we've seen this director and cinematographer before, and we've actually seen this editor before as well. Actually, no, we haven't. We have as people, but we haven't done them on this podcast.
Gotcha.
But this was directed by Robert Marshall, who's an American film and theater director, producer, and choreography. We know him for directing Chicago, which we have done. He has also directed Memoirs of a Geisha, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Mary Poppins Returns, The Little Mermaid, and 9. Yeah. Which I'm assuming we'll do at some point.
9? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This cinematographer, Dion BB, is an Australian South African cinematographer. He and Rob Marshall just do everything together. They worked on Chicago together. They worked on Memoirs of a Geisha together. And then Dion BB has also done with Marshall 9, Mary Poppins Returns, Little Mermaid, and then separately the films Collateral, Green Lantern, Edge of Tomorrow, Gemini Man, and the Michael Jackson movie that's coming out next year. Yeah. Called Michael. So just really big films, big showy films. And then this was edited by Wyatt Smith, who is a New York born editor. He's an editor and director. We know him from, he worked with Marshall and VB on Little Mermaid, Mary Poppins Returns, 9. He worked with Marshall on Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. And then separately, we know him from Doctor Strange in 2016, Harriet in 2019, and the 2025 How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, so fun. Love that.
Not a lot about him, as a person, just kind of what he has done.
Okay, so I will be talking about a little guy no one's heard of called Stephen Sondheim. So
Who?
So, yeah, this is going to be my deep dive of the episode. Everything else I'm just going to kind of trip through, but he deserves some space. So, Stephen Joshua Sondheim, American composer, lyricist, regarded as one of the most important figures in 20th century musical theater and reinvented the American musical, 100%. So, when he was about 10 years old, he ended up becoming quite close friends with James Hammerstein, who was the son of Oscar Hammerstein. They were neighbors in Bucks County. So,
that's fun.
Yeah, so Oscar ended up becoming his sort of surrogate father. His family life was a little bit rough, and profoundly influenced him and inspired him to develop his love of musical theater. Sondheim met Hal Prince, who later directed many of his shows, at the opening of South Pacific, which he was invited to from Oscar Hammerstein. So, Sondheim was at the opening of South Pacific. Crazy. At school, Sondheim wrote a comic musical called By George, which all of his peers were like, incredible, loved it, amazing. And so he went to Hammerstein and he was like, hey, would you mind like looking at this? And he kind of thought that he was gonna like get a bunch of praise from him too. And even though that apparently Hammerstein he presented it as like not his work, but just like, hey, I like found this play, what do you think? And Hammerstein, with no knowledge of its author, was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. But if you want to know why it's terrible, I'll tell you. And they spent the entire day going through the musical. And Sondheim later said, in that afternoon, I learned more about songwriting and the musical theater than most people learn in a lifetime. So, after graduating Williams College, a few, quote, painful years of struggle followed when he auditioned songs, lived in his father's dining room to save money, and spent time writing for a television series called Topper. Now, around this time, Bert Shevlov, I think is how it's pronounced, invited Sondheim to a party where he arrived before Bert, and knew no one else there. But who he did see was a familiar face, who is Arthur Lawrence, who had seen one of his auditions of one of his shows Saturday night, and they began talking. So he told him that, Lawrence told Sondheim that he was working on a version of Romeo and Juliet with Leonard Bernstein, and they needed a lyricist. Originally, they were going to get Betty Comden and Adolph Green, who we've heard of that duo before, but they were under contract in Hollywood, and he said that he wasn't a big fan of Sondheim's music, but he thought his lyrics were incredibly witty. So the next day, Sondheim met and played for them, who said that they would let him know. But Sondheim really wanted to write both music and lyrics, and he talked with Hammerstein, and he was like, should I actually do this? And was reported as saying, look, you have a chance to work with very gifted professionals on a show that sounds interesting, and you can always write your own music eventually. My advice is to take the job. This turned into West Side Story.
West Side Story.
After West Side Story opened, Bert Shevlov lamented the lack of lowbrow comedy on Broadway and mentioned that he wanted to do a musical based on Roman comedies. And Sondheim was also interested in this idea and called up a friend to co-write the script. The show went through a number of drafts, but was interrupted by his next project, which was Gypsy. So, in 1959, Lawrence and Robbins approached Sondheim for a musical version of Gypsy Rose Lee's memoir. But the problem was that Ethel Merman had just finished a show with an unknown composer and lyricist and did not enjoy the experience. So even though Sondheim wanted to write the music and lyrics for this, Ethel Merman was like, no, I will not let another first-time composer write for me, and demanded that Jules Stein write the music. Again, Sondheim consulted Hammerstein, and he was like, take the job, because learning how to write a vehicle for a star is a good experience. It's good to know how to do that. So the first Broadway production that Sondheim wrote the music and lyrics to was A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which opened in 1962 and ran for 964 performances. The show won 6 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, and had the longest Broadway run of any show for which Sondheim wrote both music and lyrics. So, he had then 3 straight hits, but his next show after that was Anyone Can Whistle, which was a 9-performance bomb. But it did introduce Angela Lansbury to musical theater, so winning there. After that, so there is a moment, this is like a little anecdote that I read while I was like researching this that I thought was really funny. Sondheim lived in a Turtle Bay, Manhattan brownstone from while he was writing Gypsy, and around 10 years after this, he heard a knock at the door, and his neighbor, Katharine Hepburn, was in bare feet, this angry, red-faced lady, and told him, "You have been keeping me awake all night." She was practicing for her musical debut in Coco. And he, quote, said, "I remember asking Hepburn why she didn't just call me, but she claimed not to have my phone number. My guess is she wanted to stand there in her bare feet suffering for her art." So after this was followed by Do I Hear a Waltz and Evening Primrose. After this, he devoted himself to solely writing both music and lyrics, and he started a collaboration with the director Harold Prince, which resulted in a body of work that's like considered like the Broadway's highest standards. So what they did together: Company, Follies, A Little Night Music, Pacific Overtures, Sweeney Todd, and then finished with Merrily We Roll Along. Now, the problem is that Merrily We Roll Along did not get good reviews. It was not the success that their previous collaborations had been. And after a chaotic preview, it opened to negative reviews and closed in less than 2 weeks. This failure really affected Sondheim, and he was ready to quit theater, do movies, do video games, write mysteries. He was a big puzzle fan, so he did a lot of like mystery games and puzzles for people, which is very interesting. He said, "I wanted to find something to satisfy myself that does not involve Broadway and dealing with all those people who hate me and hate Hal." Over the next 10 years, he did not leave Broadway and instead did Sunday in the Park with George, Into the Woods, and Passion. Then we get into the 90s and the 2000s, and we get Assassins and Roadshow. Now, Assassins is quite an interesting play because it is about all of the people throughout history that have attempted to, or succeeded in, killing a president. And it, I think, was one of his favorite shows. He called it a near-perfect show, and essentially, I will fight anyone on that. Oh, and the final full show was, now it's named Here We Are, which really there was like a bunch of back and forth, and it wasn't going anywhere, and it was going somewhere, and they had a reading of Act 1, but then it wasn't really finished, and he ended up passing, but there was a posthumous production directed by Joe Mantello, which premiered at the Shed in September of 2023, called Here We Are, which I got a chance to see. It was very weird.
It's in London now.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I enjoyed it. It's bizarre.
It's weird.
After a positive experience of being mentored by Hammerstein, he was very forward about wanting to be a mentor to other up-and-coming composers and lyricists. So he mentored a fledgling Jonathan Larson, who attended his workshop for Superbia. To finish up Sondheim, he has received a stupid amount of awards. An Academy Award, 8 Tony Awards, 8 Grammy Awards, also a Pulitzer Prize for Drama for Sunday in the Park with George, and was honored with the Kennedy Center Honors Lifetime Achievement. So to wrap up, the Henry Miller Theater on West 43rd Street was renamed the Stephen Sondheim Theater on September 15th, 2010, his 80th birthday. In attendance were Nathan Lane, Patti LuPone, and John Weidman. Sondheim said in response to the honor, "I'm deeply embarrassed. Thrilled, but deeply embarrassed. I've always hated my last name. It just doesn't sing. I mean, it's not Belasco, it's not Rogers, it's not Simon, it's not Wilson. It doesn't sing. It does sing better than Schoenfeld and Jacobs, but it doesn't sing." Nathan Lane ended up responding, "We love our corporate sponsors, we love their money, but there's something sacred about naming a theater, and there's something about this that is right and just." So that is Stephen Sondheim. He ended up passing away in 2021. God, an incredibly prolific and influential person.
Yeah.
So to talk about the stage musical, the development for this musical started when James Lapine and Sondheim came together for their second project after Sunday in the Park. So they wanted to do like a fairy tale themed musical. They tried writing their own fairy tale, but they were like, actually, let's just combine things that already exist. It gives people characters that they already know, then they can love them in advance, you know, and we don't have to do a lot of work of introducing them to new people and making them fall in love. Into the Woods first appeared as a workshop performance, which ran for about 50 performances. It opened on Broadway on November 5th, 1987, and closed September 3rd, 1989, after 765 performances. Now, for the film, there was a lot of chatter about that Disney was going to make a bunch of major plot changes for the film version, because Disney was concerned about how dark the plot matter actually is. But Sondheim revealed, no, don't panic, and that the film version had been approved by both him and James Lapine. Obviously, there were songs that were cut. Agony Reprise, So Happy, Maybe They're Magic, I Guess This Is Goodbye, First Midnight and Second Midnight, which makes Last Midnight make more sense. Other major changes...
It's the first midnight.
Other
it's
major
the
changes...
Second midnight.
Are the reducing the role of the quote-unquote mysterious man, who is the baker's father. So that was just turned into like a spirit or like a ghost kind of deal, because normally in the play the quote-unquote mysterious man is the narrator and a little bit of an antagonist. It's like a little, it's on the edge. They cut a bunch of other things: Rapunzel's pregnancy, the subplot of the princess having affairs with Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. After all of those changes, everything went through, and reports started coming out in January of 2013 that Meryl Streep had been cast as the witch. She had a no witch rule, because the year she turned 40, she had 3 offers for 3 different witch projects, and she said, hard pass, except for Sondheim, which, so fair.
You break the rule for Sondheim.
100%. Also, there was negotiations for who would play the prince. Now, Chris Pine was always on the list, but the other prince, Rapunzel's prince, was talked about, potentially, Jake Gyllenhaal. But Jake Gyllenhaal! But he ended up dropping out due to scheduling conflicts with Nightcrawler, and then was replaced with Billy Magnussen.
So in terms of reviews, reception, release, it opened to really, really good reviews. It still maintains really good reviews, about like a 70-75%. I pulled 2 quotes. I pulled a good quote and a bad quote. So the good quote is, on the whole, this Disney adaptation of the Sondheim classic sits comfortably at the corner of Hollywood and Broadway, even if it darkens to its detriment in the final act. A negative review calls it a generic dystopian bummer, which, like, I'm sorry, that's the musical.
You don't get it, my God. Yeah.
You don't get it. So it premiered at the Ziegfeld Theater in New York City on December 8th, 2014, and was released theatrically in the States on Christmas Day, 2014. It grossed $128 million in North America and over $85 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $213.1 million against a budget of $50 million, which sounds like a lot, but for a production this big actually wasn't that much.
Yeah.
It was one of 4 films that premiered on Christmas Day that year, the other 3 being Universal's Unbroken, Paramount's The Gambler, and then TWC's Big Eyes.
I remember that movie.
It broke the record for the highest opening weekend for a film based on a Broadway musical. The record had previously been held by Mamma Mia, and it held this record for 10 years until 2024 with Wicked Part 1.
Wow.
Right? Wow. So it's a Disney film, and Disney self-finances all of its films. After the staged reading, did you say this already? Disney, like, the $50 million is a lot of money, but Disney actually only, like, greenlit a small production budget of $50 million compared to other feature-length fantasy
Especially
films,
considering the names that they had.
Which forced cast and crew to accept pay cuts to work on the film. Yeah. Which is crazy. Shall we talk about singing and dancing?
Yeah. So for the singing, like 90% of it was done in advance in a recording studio.
Yes.
But they also did it in conjunction. So they blocked everything before they got to set. So they had like a long
they had
rehearsal
6 weeks of rehearsal.
Yes. Which meant that they knew what they would physically be doing when they would sing the song, which did help ground them in the song. And I think like maybe they said like 10% was actually live on stage, just to, you know, for the people that could. But I would say that like, I didn't know, there wasn't really a weak link in terms of the singing. I think everyone did great.
No.
Even like Chris Pine was incredibly like stressed.
He was so nervous.
My God, he is like the majority of my fun facts. he didn't really consider himself a singer and was incredibly nervous with it. But I think he did a wonderful job.
Yeah. I don't have a weak link in this film.
No. Even though I have opinions about James Corden as a person, he did a great job.
Yeah. He was a great baker.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I just wanted more.
I wanted more.
I love when Meryl belts. We were singing that earlier, but I love when she gets into that throaty belt.
That real deep.
Yeah.
Love that. Grapes, giggles, moments of joy?
Well, we don't have any dancing.
No dancing.
Really.
Yeah, that's why I skipped.
No dancing. But this is a musical without dancing.
Yeah, I don't know of many Sondheim shows that have, like, capital D dancing.
No.
Yeah.
West Side Story.
But that's, like, yeah.
But that's not,
that's not like
a true
his
Sondheim.
show,
That's fair.
you know?
That's fair. That's very fair. Yeah, it's not like we were dancing in the streets in Sweeney Todd.
Specifically, Tim Burton.
Specifically to Timmy B.
Timmy B.
Gripes and giggles.
Gripe, no second agony, R.I.P., but I understand why it was cut. Wasn't necessary, but it's so funny. Yeah, I don't have, like, actual, like, project-based gripes. It's more just, like, because I thought it was beautifully shot. I don't know. Yeah. Not a huge amount of gripes. I wanted more, and I love the second agony. I think it's so funny.
My gripe is that they could have given the beans
Give
back.
the beans back.
The show.
Yeah.
Give the beans back.
For sure.
That's the only plot hole where I'm like, realistically, none of this would have happened if we had just given the beans back to the witch.
Yes.
My giggles are all the really humanizing lines.
Yes.
Of, like, the little interstitials, maybe improvised. Like Meryl's, oh my god. Or the
Cinderella being like, that
witch,
doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. The second time the witch appears for the baker and the baker's wife, who cares? Cow's gone, get it back. And she flies off, and the baker just goes, I don't like that woman.
Yeah. Another one with James Corden at the very beginning, whenever she runs off and she's like, oh, stop. It's like, she's a thief. Like,
yeah. He's got good comedic timing.
Yes. I mean, so my biggest giggle is always going to be Cinderella's deep shock over the baker's wife having a child, like, a month and a half after she's like, I need your slipper to have a child. Like, could you imagine?
So funny. Chris Pine had a lot of my giggles and moments of joy. My moments of joy are just, I'm sorry, the wordplay.
Wordplay.
The lyrics are my moment of joy. While her withers wither wither?
Ugh.
Are you kidding?
Fuck off.
You know that when Sondheim wrote that, he was like, that's good.
My moment of joy is agony. It was so much fun. The actors obviously had a blast.
That's the homework.
That's one of the homeworks. Agony. I have another homework, which I'll talk about at the end. Do we want to do fun facts? So my very short fun fact is Lucy Punch, who was one of the stepsisters, has played a Cinderella stepsister 4 times. In Cinderella 2000, in Ella Enchanted 2004, in Cinderella 2008, and then in Into the Woods. And I'm like, this is a sliver of a niche, but man, has she found it.
Yeah. So there was a 3-day reading with Disney's backing of the entire screenplay that took place in New York City in October 2012, and Rob Marshall directed it. This cast obviously is not 100% our final cast, featured a lot of Broadway actors, and this was before, like, Meryl was attached or whatever. So Nina Ariadna played the baker's wife. James Corden played the baker. Victoria Clark played Cinderella's mother / granny / the giant.
Yeah.
Donna Murphy was the witch. Which, like, makes sense having done the Rapunzel movie.
Of course.
Christine Baranski was the stepmother. Tammy Blanchard was one of the stepsisters. Megan Hilty was the other stepsister.
I saw that one.
An actor I don't know, Ivan Hernandez, was the wolf. Cheyenne Jackson, whom I love, was Rapunzel's prince. Patrick Wilson was Cinderella's prince. I cannot get over that. And then we had Anna Kendrick as Cinderella, Michael McGrath as Stuart / Mysterious Man, Laura Osnes as Rapunzel, Taylor Trench as Jack, which is why I'm like, Jack's normally played by an older person pretending to be young.
Yeah.
Casey Weiland was Little Red Riding Hood, and Allison Janney was Jack's mother.
And they almost
Insane.
cast her as it in the movie too. That would have been incredible.
I loved the actress that played his mother. I
Yes.
thought she was fantastic. I wonder why she wasn't cast in the movie.
I bet it was a scheduling issue.
Probably.
All right, so I have 2 final fun facts, and both of them are about Chris Pine. Because this was
Great,
the
tell
one
me.
guy that I was like, what are you doing here? Everyone else here feels very musical theater coded, and you do not.
Chris Pine, how did you get here?
Yes. So, to talk about, Chris Pine didn't know about Into the Woods as a play or a musical, but he just liked the cast and the director. So on the night before his singing audition, he was like, oh, let me just Google this the night before. And to his horror, found pages and pages of fan message boards and comments and positive reviews of the play and the Broadway show. And it made him so nervous that he didn't sleep the night before and considered canceling the meeting.
Oh.
Sweet pea. So, according to Anna Kendrick, Chris Pine was incredibly shy about his singing voice because, again, this is not a musical theater man. Everyone else here is, like, entrenched in musical theater. It was noted that he would hold back during rehearsals. She only heard his actual singing voice when she was eating lunch in the recording studio. She was in a room by herself, and she heard a, quote, beautiful crooning voice coming from the hallway, but she assumed that it was a singer from a different project because a bunch of people were using the studio. And then she noticed that the singing wasn't stopping, so she poked her head out, and to her surprise, she discovered that it was Chris Pine who was singing because he didn't know that anyone else was there.
Protect this man at all
Protect
costs.
this man at all costs!
I love
this
Piss
man.
Crying.
Piss crying. We love you.
I love this musical. I love this movie. Maybe my 2026, one of my 2026 resolutions is to see a production of Into the Woods.
God, I would love to. So, your homework was Agony. My addition to our homework is a callback to the mid-2000s classic low-budget Milky White. So,
God, I love that Tumblr.
there's a Tumblr page that is really just collections of pictures of schools and other places
Community
that don't have a lot of
theaters.
money figuring out how to have a cow on stage, and oh boy do they struggle.
God, they struggle. Is that all she wrote?
I think that's all she wrote.
I think that's all she wrote. Well, if you are still with us, thank you so much for taking the time to tune into this episode of Into the Woods. This is our season 5 opener.
Hell yeah,
This
it
was
is.
our season 5 opener. Holy crap. We are so excited. We love doing this. We are so excited for everything that season 5 has coming your way.
Just you wait, Henry Higgins.
Just you wait. I have been Anna.
I'm still Grace.
Take care of yourselves and others. We'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.
5, 6, 7, 8.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know.